Welcome, listeners and viewers, to another episode of the Talking Parra podcast. Bit of a exclusive tonight. We're going live on Facebook, so on the Talking Parra Facebook page. So hello to all our viewers on there. Hope you're enjoying this so far. If you haven't heard the Talking Parra podcast, then you're in for some fun. Joining us tonight, we've got a full house again tonight. So we've got Joel from League of Inches, our special guest every week. We've got Entertain House, Hayden from the Entertain House up the top there. We've got Maddie from M. Tatey Sports TV. How you going, Maddie? We've got myself, Troy, from the Parra Cave podcast, and we've got our illustrious host, Adam Martin, who is looking fine in about the late 90s jumper, I think there, 1998, 99. So how you going, Adam?
I am wonderful. How are you, Troy?
I'm fantastic. I'm looking forward to this. First time on Facebook Live, so should be good.
Yeah, I'm just sharing it around a bit as you talk, so ignore me being rude. Look, we'll start straight away. Things got pretty heated last week when we started talking about our season and where it was heading and if it was kind of going nowhere. So I'm going to fly straight over to you, Troy, straight away. You had a different opinion this week. Is it panic stations?
No, it's not panic stations.
We're stitched out there, Troy. We're stitched out. Go on, tell us why it's not panic stations, and I'll tell you why it is.
Okay, well, it's not panic stations because there's still plenty of time in this competition to earn points and make the finals. We still haven't had any buys yet, so technically we're on 10 points instead of 8. And also, too, think about a couple of scenarios. So last year, the Canberra Raiders, they were 2 and 7. They made the 8. Think about Parramatta themselves, 2009. Now, that was a bit of a freakish season. Obviously, we all know what happened in that year with the football that was played. But we were, 13th, 14th in that competition at that time and ended up making the 8 and then ended up making the grand final. If we've lost the games that we've lost, we haven't lost by more than 10 points. So we've been in every single game. We get a good win this weekend, or against another big team, or even a few other sides as well. We get 1, 2, 3 wins, then we'll slowly climb up that ladder, and it will also give them confidence. And hopefully a bit of spark, and that should hopefully continue on for the rest of the year.
I'll run through the worrying thing from the negative side of things, and we don't like to be negative, but as we're obviously fans of the team. But look, this is why I think we're done, and I think it's going to take a miracle for us to make finals. And like I said, I know we've done it before. I know other teams have. We've seen some teams go on some great runs, but first of all, the quality of football hasn't been good enough. We've lost the tight games that we should have won. We really shouldn't be dropping games to the Titans. We really shouldn't have dropped the game to Canberra the other day. I know we had a couple of injuries and players out. And obviously those games that started here to a Nico Hines-less Cronulla, a Melbourne game where a lot of things didn't go away, but we just weren't good enough in the end. And the Manly game as well, where a couple of decisions get away as well. But looking at the run home, we probably need to win 10 of 13 games, which puts us on, does that put us on 32 points? Is that right? 32. Do we get 2 buys? 3 buys? 3 buys? 3 buys.
2. Get 2. Every club gets 3, but you don't get points for one of them because it's Origin.
Oh. Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure.
All right,
you get points for all 3.
Get points for all. I was going to say you have to get points for all 3 because they're on at different times.
You get points for all 3.
We really probably should have done some research on this, but anyway, going on with it means. Well, it doesn't make any difference anyway because if everyone gets 3 buys, it puts the standard of making the 8 2 points higher. So everyone's going to have an extra 2 points. So we've got to win 10 games. Now, out of those 13 games we have remaining, for us to win 10 games, we've got to play South Sydney this week at Allianz, an away game. We've got to play the Dolphins at Sunshine Coast, Melbourne in Melbourne, Brisbane in Brisbane, the Cowboys in North Queensland, and Penrith at Penrith. So essentially, we need to win 3 of those games. Just based on the recent form of the team and how we've been going, I'm struggling to see what 3 we win. Look, we could surprise us. I think we could cause an upset this week because we need to. We're desperate. But none of those games are going to be easy games. I know we've done it before. I know we've beaten North Queensland. We've beaten Melbourne, we've beaten Brisbane, we've beaten Penrith. But we played them in non-pressure situations besides the Cowboys game. It makes me nervous. And look, I think it's going to take a miracle. Has anyone else got any thoughts on it, Hayden?
I agree with you, unfortunately, Adam. I think it is panic button, and I think it goes back to what I said at the start of the year. I think, we've been saying things like, why is Davey in the starting side? And I think the losses of Papali'i and I still think Marnie, we've mentioned it throughout the year, and the BA pride factor that if Hodgson was to be out of the side and Hands to start, it all goes back on the pride of the coach and the club. And that's why it seems like it is panic button, because all these weeks later, nothing seems to change. You look at the Dragons, a club who were calling for the recall of players who have now sacked the coach. And we're not in that type of situation, but they're getting those type of players back that they've seen can perform. And it's going in the opposite direction for us. So it's going to be a tough season. It really feels like it's going to be a tough season.
Yeah, I'm getting 2010 vibes. I'm just waiting for it to kickstart every now and then. They showed a bit of hope against a Newcastle team that was really quite poor. Defensively, they were terrible. But it's giving me that 2010 vibes. And look, it's so disappointing to make a grand final. That miracle run we had last year, the hope it gave us all, obviously getting the grand final, and then bouncing back to what is this year where look, I'll be honest and say I'm struggling to get motivated to go to games. I am going, or to talk Parramatta, which is very unlike me. Joel, your thoughts?
I was excited. I love Wednesdays. They're my favourite day of the week almost. But then I remembered we have to actually talk about Parramatta, and it made me a bit depressed because I'm just not shit all at the moment at the club. I'm not liking the selections that happen time and time again. I don't really understand why they keep.
I feel like something's coming on.
Oh.
Is it time for a...
Look, my rant has to do with selection, so I don't know if we want to wait until we talk about the team this week, or if you want me to go off all to you boys.
No, we'll wait. We'll let you have your rant later. Just give us your thoughts on how we're travelling, obviously, and where we're looking at.
Just quickly, I know there's some questions coming through. Will we get to those at the end, or we're going to answer them on the go? We'll get to
them close to the end.
Yeah, perfect. All right, well, I just think the club as a whole, they've dug themselves this hole, unfortunately. And if anyone has listened to Brad Arthur's press conference today, which I did as really good research for the show about half an hour ago, he talks about the forwards that we've lost and the fact that we're still in the process of replacing those forwards. We're halfway through the year. Why as a club are we waiting to halfway through a year? Our season's already gone, to then be like, we're still looking for players to sign. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm just, I keep saying I was a massive Brad Arthur fan, but as the weeks go on, I really do think it's time the club moves forward. Otherwise, unfortunately, I feel like we're going to become a Dragons in the next 2-3 years, which is a scary thought.
I'll touch on that player signing thing and say we probably put our eggs in all the one basket trying to chase Marty Tapau, which obviously we missed out on last minute to Brisbane. I think that was kind of where we were aiming to get that bench impact, a bit of experienced front rower. So obviously now they're looking to bring, we're going to talk about that later, Offengowie, rumour floating around there, but I think it's just to get a bit of spark and obviously cover a few injuries. Obviously losing Campbell Gillard's been pretty big. Now I've lost Lane as well, which, look, I'll say was probably a bit of a blessing in a way at the moment. I don't want him to get injured, but I think he was probably heading for a running New South Wales Cup the way he's playing anyway. But I think obviously, our hands been forced there. And one thing it does highlight is the lack of ability to bring through juniors and bring through players, which I reckon we've struggled with for years. We'll go to Matt, then we'll touch on last week's game.
Yeah, I think what is it now? 10 from the last 13. So yeah, I feel like the structure's not working. Whatever they're doing, I feel like we're getting too predictable in attack. We've seen some good shades of what we can do when we don't go to play off the cuff. And yeah, I don't know. I can't answer. You've all pretty much covered it. So
Look, just quickly, there is a few other points that I told you guys in the group chat that there are some other factors that have come into play this year. So obviously, we all know about the draw that we've had, playing those three teams off buys. No other team has done that, I don't think. That's still no excuse, but it is still a factor. We've had obviously the players leave. What else have we had? One thing that I did mention in the group chat as well. It's probably not a major factor, but two of our star players have had children in the last year as well, first time fathers as well. Look, I know it's not a major factor, but there's still that little bit of factor there. We've had obviously the Ryan Madison suspension at the start of the year. We've had junior suspension as well. We've had injuries as well. So it's a completely different season to last year.
But
It is.
We've had half the players playing Fortnite every night.
Well, my point I want to make
factors-
is I agree with that. We know the draw hasn't been great. We've obviously touched on that. We probably wouldn't have spoken about much if we were winning. But the good teams and the well-managed teams seem to come away with how to handle that. Like, let's look at a Melbourne, for example. They're guaranteed to be travelling half their games in a state. So, in another state. Obviously, their games, I know they play other games elsewhere as well, and they manage to not have excuses based on draws and turnarounds and stuff like that. But I don't know. To me, there's bigger issues. We'll get to that because there's a couple of points being highlighted in the comments, and we'll go that when we go to the questions about the club management and the lack of the stuff. But let's get on to last week's game first of all, because like I said, another disappointing loss. Look, first of all, I want to come out. I know you've got a point to make about this as well, Troy, which we'll get to. But I want to come out and say, first of all, I thought Jake Arthur had an excellent game. Excellent, probably a stretch, actually. He had a good game. He was solid. He didn't make any mistakes. He did what he needed to. He played his role. For him to come out and cop criticism straight away from fans at the game and his fans online in general was harsh and unneeded. And all it's going to do is really stop his career, to be honest. It's just getting ridiculous. There was a lot worse players on the field. I'll say now I thought our captain, Gutho, was absolutely terrible on Saturday night. We had his worst game of the season. And Dylan Brown didn't step up like he needed to when we once again asked for him. Not asked him, but we knew he needed to step up with Moses out. So no pressure was taken off Jake. It's a little bit ridiculous. And I've just had enough of it. I'm just getting sick of the shit. So first of all, that's all I wanted to say. Let's get the result. 26-18, obviously going down at Canberra. Look, we scored the first try, which is rare for us. I know it happened the week before, but we seem to be conceding points early on or just choking on leads. I thought it was a pretty lucky try. Going to Canberra's tries, two little grubbers in the line highlights the point. I thought Gutherson was terrible again. The positioning was absolutely shithouse, to be honest. I've questioned Gutho's positioning at fullback on the line for so long. He seems to get himself stuck at marker when he doesn't need to. And he's just so late. And it was so obvious those little grubber tries were going to come through. Two pretty scrappy crap tries they scored to obviously get them that lead. And they obviously went on with it and scored off another kick. I guess the positive out of that is that they didn't really break our line with attacking plays. They scored 3 tries off kicks. And obviously the first try was that. But to me, it's just, I think our defensive structures are starting to hold up a lot better, but they found a way to get through us, which was disappointing. Joel, go to you. Your thoughts on that game?
A frustrating game. It was just one of those games where even though we scored first, we just didn't seem to ever be in the game. It was just sort of like we were there, but we weren't there really. It was a lot of individual performances, not up to the level that we need to be up to, especially for a game that they all stated throughout the week was a must win and we needed to get it done. They were all up for the challenge, blah, blah, blah. We hear it every week at the moment. I want to touch on, and I know we'll get to it, but the Brad Arthur comments about the penalty counts. Look, I know it was a pretty extreme penalty count for what we've actually had this year, but a lot of them were penalties when you actually go back and look at it. I feel like we actually had some pretty poor discipline and we let Raiders out a lot with some easy penalties, and we do it week in, week out at the moment. So I'm all for Brad Arthur doing that finally and getting the refs noticed, but I also feel like we've done it all year, and when's he going to actually go on the players? And the discipline for mine has just been soft all year, and it's one of the key reasons we keep losing. And it's going to be a reason why we continue to lose if it's not fixed.
Yeah, fair. We will get to those Brad Arthur comments a bit later on as well, because I want to have a bit more of a say about that. Troy, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, it all started off pretty well, didn't it? Yeah, we had a great set of defence in the first set when Canberra had the ball. There was a few little highlights in there. Your mate Wiramu Greg did a great try-saving tackle, and then Laney got that intercept. Him going off was even though he hadn't been playing the best of football this year, was probably a little bit difficult for us as well because he obviously couldn't come back. So that was a player down as well. Look, you mentioned their penalties as well. I know we can touch on it later, but the Jake Arthur penalty that Canberra then did score a try after that, I think. For me, he turned his back, planted his feet, and Whiten's run into him. The Bailey Simonson hip drop tackle, well, we're all still confused about hip drop tackles. So for the fact that he didn't get 10 minutes in the sin bin and then he didn't get charged for it, was pretty. It was a game changer as well because obviously he gave the penalty away and then Canberra were down the other end as well. So obviously our completion rates were way down, 68%. So you can't win football games without the ball. And yeah, I mean, having Mitchell Moses out for the game, we knew that was going to happen, obviously, but his kicking game was missed as well with the meterage that he could get with the ball through his kicks. So disappointing loss, but we move on to this week.
Yep. Matt, your thoughts?
Yeah, it could have been better. Yeah, it's interesting to see BA. Well, this week will be tested with BA actually finally standing up and having a go at the refs, considering this week in the bunker we got Atkins. So, yeah, that should be fun. But yeah, I think we started off all right. Like Jake's little show and goes. There was probably some opportunities for Jake to throw that cutout ball. We all know that that's probably his biggest strength. We saw it against Manly last year when Mitch was gone. But yeah, definitely needed. I feel like Guffo tried to do too much. Hayes got caught out at marker at one point, making a tackle 20 meters infield, which led to the Hopewadi try. So I feel like that could have been stopped. There was no need for Hayes to come into that tackle as the third man in. But yeah, just some wheels break, passes to Hayes. Hayes gets head-eye tackle, knock on. Then Tarpany gets a little tap to the head, drops the ball, and it's a penalty. The offside one for mine was straight after halftime in the first set was the turning point. And yeah, Jamal Fogarty was told he wasn't wanted at Parra and could never make first grade, and he always comes back to bite us every time. So he stepped up, and yeah, his kicking game, he's 40-20s, and it was just crazy. So yeah, it was, what can I say?
Yep. Hayden, take us home.
Yeah, I just want to say for the fans that were there at Canberra, I thought it was a great job in the Parra Bay. It was one of the best away Parra Bays in a long time, if not absolutely this year. The fans were energetic. They were loud. They were probably getting heard throughout the TV. But I thought
is that because we weren't there? It was
no. You boys definitely would have made it louder with your 30 drinks each, I'm sure. But I thought the discipline and turnovers, the areas were quite disappointing. And look, as you mentioned, a lot of players caught out in their positions. Sebo a few times, Dunster a few times, and then Gutherson, as Adam mentioned, out of position and leading to some of those tries. So definitely fought to get back into the game. I probably had early on, you mentioned Woodamoo Greg, really led the platform really nicely early on. I thought Bryce Cartwright was good off the bench, but I still didn't think the forwards did enough for this game, especially the energy that when they got off the bus, you could see Junior just looking around, being there at GIO, just giving the fans this head nod like, I'm here, I know what I'm going to do. But yeah, a few disappointing moments. And I want to see more from Will this week. I've loved Will's season so far, but against the Titans and now against the Raiders, I thought he's put in some poor performances. So I think Will be quite fired up for this game on Friday night.
Yeah, wonderful. I'll take us home just based on a couple of the things we mentioned there. First of all, look, the penalty count 10-3. I watched the game back and I found 10 penalties easily for Parramatta. Look, the only one that was questionable was the one that Troy mentioned was the Jake Arthur escort penalty, but saying that they have been given escorts in other games throughout the year. He was landed, his feet was there, but by the rules of the game, it technically is an escort. I think Whiten just made as much as he actually could. Based on that, though, what I want to say is the inconsistency around the game. Although there was 10 penalties for us, there was definitely 10 penalties that should have gone against Canberra as well. The example Matt used, obviously, based on the high shot to Hayes, was at 22-18, so we're down by 4 points. 22-18, we make a break, it's third tackle. It doesn't really matter what the tackle is, but Hayes is hit high and knocks on the ball. Should have been a penalty. We should have been attacking to go into the lead. Instead, they've got the ball. We give away a penalty. They got the other end and score a try off a kick. So, look, I think all fans want in the game is consistency around referee decisions, and we're not getting that. On the Bailey, and I'll just say I thought Bailey played quite well as well. I think he's starting to warm in the centres there. But on the Bailey hip drop, by the laws of the game, once again, and what we've seen in the last few weeks, it was a hip drop. I know he's got away with it, but he's got a fine or whatever he got. I don't know if he even got no charge. But with the hip drop, one of the things I'm starting to notice is, and I know it feels like I'm repeating myself, Joel, because I said this yesterday, but with the hip drop, players have a decision if they want to let go or not. And I noticed it at Magic around players getting himself in a position and being able to let go of the tackle and not drop down on the player. In that situation, if Bailey let go, they weren't going to score a try. The tackle was going to be completed by the other two players or one player in the tackle, and he was going to fall off, or he could have probably even re-gripped in time. He made the decision to go down with the player, therefore hip drop, therefore a fair penalty. I think he was lucky not being in the bin based on what we've seen. And it is getting eliminated from the game. We sat here weeks ago saying, how are they going to get rid of the hip drop? It's an accident happened. Well, if you watch the smart players, and there's not a lot of them sometimes, if you do watch the smart players, you do notice that they are actually being able to avoid the hip drop, just like they avoided the chicken wing, just like they avoided the shoulder charge, they avoided the high tackles. Obviously, cannonballs as well are a pretty big part of the game. So it is possible to avoid those things.
But why is it being highlighted this year?
What? The hip drop?
Yeah.
Well, apparently they set a thing out to every single club highlighting what it was, what a hip drop was.
Yeah, but it's 2023. They've only highlighted it in 2023. So
it literally should have been done last year after Hayes got out for the season against that St. George, the trial match where it was a clear hip drop and it done his ACL. So
yeah, we got 5 weeks. So that was a clear hip drop. But
yeah,
it's something that snuck in the game, and the reason it snuck into the game is because of all the things you can't do to take a player down. You can't come in and cannonball, which is the third median tackle, which most clubs use. I've been trained at footy. You can't do that. You can't come in and hit him with the shoulder. You can't come in and hit him too high. So where's the third man going to go? Every club tackles third man. The Melbourne Storm brought that in with their wrestling techniques. So every single club is going to come in third man. They've got to go somewhere, and that's how it snuck into the game. The only way it's going to be fully eliminated and all those things are going to be fully eliminated is if two people could take a bloke to the ground. With the players getting bigger and stronger, it's just not going to happen.
But can you go into a tackle and say, I'm going to do a hip drop on this tackle?
Yeah, no, because it's an accident. But you can also avoid it. If you get yourself in a position, you can avoid it. If you feel yourself going down a player's back, falling, and you've come in at the back of the player and you know the only way they're going to go is drag them down, you can get away from that situation easily.
Well, it's just changing the whole game.
The game's constantly changing. The game we love has been changing for the last 5 or 6 years, ever since the Roosters had a whinge and ruined the game. Magic round 2021.
It's just changing the whole game because you just basically can't tackle from behind.
But let's go back 20 years, 30 years. Did you see 3 people in a tackle?
No.
Correct. Melbourne Storm probably brought in about
some WWE moves.
2006, 2007 is when all these grappling techniques and stuff started to come in. So, look, the game's been changing for years, and getting away from 3-man tackles is probably a good thing for the game anyway. It would. It might open up. There might be more missed tackles. There might be more points. That could work to our advantage. You don't know. Like when they brought in 6 again, the game majorly changed because it opened up the game and made the game quicker. When they dropped it down to 8 interchanges, it made it, change the game. The game's constantly going to be evolving till it's an entertaining game enough for them to take it to America. Sorry, is that what we're doing? Is that where we're going?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Anyone else got any thoughts on those instance, obviously, BA finally blowing up. Look, it's usually pretty interesting when a coach blows up. Usually every decision goes their way the week after. So that's one of the reasons I'll be tipping Parramatta this week. Player of the match for me, it's kind of a hard one. I thought Hopgood was excellent again with his meters, but I want to give it to Bailey. Just based on the fact I think he's starting to evolve as a centre. He's starting to find his feet there. Against his former club, ran for 123 metres. Honourable mention to Will, who I thought was solid again. Good to see him in open space again. But my man of the match is Bailey. I'll go to you first, Troy.
Yeah, look, Bailey was pretty good. Obviously tipped him for the first try, but he got, the second try, I think, for Parramatta. But, he was outstanding. But, yeah, Hopgood, congratulations to him. He got his first NRL try. Again, he's always competing, and his offloads and hit-ups as well. So, at times, he did look dangerous. At times, he probably shouldn't have tried an offload, but he's developing every week as well.
Yep, Matt.
Yeah, I'd say Bailey as well. There was a few bits in the game where it was disappointing that there was no support. Will's break, the only supporting player was Dylan 20 meters away. So, but yeah, that wraparound play and Bailey snuck in. So yeah, I feel like Bailey's position is center, and I know he put his hand up last year saying I want to be center. So yeah, it's good to see him the last couple of games start really getting back to what he was in the semis last year.
Yep, Hayden.
Andrew Davey. No, I'm joking. Bailey Simonson. I I just wanted to get warmed up for Joel's rant. No, I agree with you, boys. Bailey was outstanding, as I mentioned. I think if Woodamoo Greg played more minutes, but he obviously did get gassed. The commentators were saying it as he came off the field and didn't come back on. But I think it was Bailey's game against his former club. He played really well.
Joel.
I think Hodgson is mine. No, I'm only joking. Hopgood for mine. Hopgood was fantastic. Once again, shows why he should be starting lock every week. So BA, do not change that at all. He, for mine, is on the edge of
he's listening to the podcast.
As well. So, well, yeah.
BA's listening to the podcast.
Yeah, well, hello, BA. Come and message me after or give me a call. I'll give you some advice. So maybe you can give me some airfares and I'll come down to training for the next couple of days and show the boys, get a rocket up them, really. This is move on. I'm too fired up already.
Well, it worked for Dylan Brown a couple of weeks ago. So,
all right, let's move on to our predictions. Scoreline. I had 23-22. Troy had 28-20. Hayden had 14-18 Raiders.
Oh, he's
done it again. It's done it again.
He's done it again.
Different laptop. I don't know why it's doing that. Matt's had 32-12, and Joel, who's listed all over here at 18-16. So I think Hayden gets the chockies there just because you actually picked the Raiders. So I'll give that to him. The boys' ball predictions. Adam was Jake Arthur field goal. Didn't happen. Troy was Hodgson 3 try assists. So I'm just assuming that didn't happen. Hayden had Tarpany to run more meters than any eel. Hang on, I've got to...
No, I had Tarpany to run more meters than any eels forward, if you go and watch it. So any forward, bench or starting.
Well, he ran 190 metres, so he ran more than any eel in general. So,
oh shit!
Yeah, so
actually got.
And he went off. He went off for 10 minutes, didn't he?
Because Junior tackled him too hard.
He played.
Shit, that's a pretty good effort. You got to give him credit for that. For going off.
He only played 50 minutes and ran for 190 metres. Yeah,
a few points there. I like
solid effort and made 30
Sorry,
tackles.
Troy. I'll catch you now.
Anyway, yeah. I'm leading. And Matt had 4 forwards.
Because Adam's on 100 points or something for one.
Yeah, Adam's well ahead.
One game.
Matt had 4 forwards to score. Does that count Canberra?
Yeah. So
okay.
2 forwards. I only got 2.
Did he get it?
No, Hudson Young scored and Hopgood
Hudson
scored.
Young and Hopgood. They're the only 2.
Halfway there. And Joel had Dylan Brown double rant. First try scorer. I had Jake Arthur. Troy had Bailey Simonson. Hayden had Clint Gutherson. Matt had Dylan Brown. And Joel had Junior Paul. And Matt, you usually say Hopgood nearly every week, and you haven't done it. And he scored the first try.
Yeah,
so
I know.
0 points.
I know.
Hayden's this week's winner. Congratulations, Hayden. You finally picked up a win. You still won't catch me. I want 100 points. All right. Let's quickly talk about Joel Fingali. Obviously, we touched on it earlier. It is rumoured Joel Fingali Parramatta looking to bring him across immediately. Obviously, the multi-year sign out, bring him across immediately. Look, I think that's obviously cover for RCG, Lane. We need a forward off the bench. Obviously, we know we're struggling. As you just mentioned, Hayden, obviously, Wiramu's been doing a job there since Reg has been out, but he's not playing the minutes. I think he only played 34 minutes or something. Reg usually plays around that 55 to 60. So bring off Gowing, who's struggling, and I think it'd be a great signing. I'll get your thoughts first, Joel, on that.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this signing. If it can actually happen, it's rumoured to be in the next 24, 48 hours. We'll get confirmation if it does or not. For mine, the reason I like it, because I know Wiramu Gregor's had his moments where he has stepped up, but the key thing there is moments. He hasn't been consistent with it. I still worry about, and I know Matt has the same worries about his minutes and his fitness. I don't think it's quite where it needs to be. But for mine, we've already seen when RCG goes down, Junior hasn't stepped up this year, so we're still lacking once we lost Reg, unfortunately, for his injury. Hopgood's made the lock his own, so he's not going to be coming over to be lock. I know we've got Matto on the bench as well. I feel like Matto's best for the team at the moment at second row and to play a full 80 minutes. So that's where I'd be having Matto, so it wouldn't impact the middle forward. So Joe, for mine, would be a perfect fit. I think a lot of people forget last year he won the Tigers Player of the Year. I know that's not a great accomplishment. The Tigers were hopeless, but he was playing some pretty good footy. I don't know what's happened this year. He's fallen out of favour, but we've done this before with players like Papali'i, was out of favour, not getting much of a run with the Warriors, and we made him the player he is today. So I feel like we can do the same with Joe. I'm actually looking forward to getting him on board if we do.
Yep. Anyone else got anything to add about that one?
Yeah, I think if the signing is within, you go, Matt.
I kind of think it's a kicker. I think that we didn't go for that particular forward, and he's on offer to us, so we don't take the other one back. But yeah, I think it'll be good for us. I know we were trying to get Clemmer last year, but he wanted a bit too much. We missed out on Marty to power by an inch, or whatever he's called now, Tapa'u. But yeah, I feel like we want Isaiah back. That's plain and simple. I feel like we made the call to get Isaiah back, and Tigers was like, well, have Joe. So we'll soon see.
Have the wish version.
Well, I think the big thing is if he's within the next 24 to 48 hours, which could seem the club come as early as next week, the week after. You've got to remember that it's going to happen. Junior Paulo is going to be in an Origin jersey, and I think it's good cover for Junior as well, especially with RCG still being 5-6 weeks away from this. And as you mentioned, the match fitness of Wiramu Greg, he's playing great at the start, but not playing. Whereas, as you mentioned, Joe being the Tigers' best player last year, can definitely play more minutes. So I think it's not only that. I think it's good cover for Origin, whether he starts or comes off the bench. I think it's the right signing with the lack of depth in the forwards that we have at the moment. We can't probably put someone like Ofahigi Ogden, who, spoiler alert, is playing this week, into a starting role. So I think it's great. I think it's a good choice.
Yep. Troy, anything to add?
Yeah, look, it will be potentially a good signing. He's obviously an Origin player in the past. Maybe a change could be as good as a holiday. We have seen, as mentioned before, Isaiah Papali'i come over from the Warriors to Parramatta, and look at the last 2 seasons he had there. How much does he come for? How much do the Tigers chip in for his contract? Because apparently it's like 650,000 next year and the year after.
Yeah, I don't know. That's obviously something the clubs have got to discuss. But if they need to clear salary cap space, they're going to be paying something. And the rumour is they do need to clear salary cap space. So
because they want to chase Sean Johnson, which they won't get.
And there you go. Look, The biggest thing for me with Hoffengowie is he was an Origin player, so obviously comes with that experience. When you're chasing a player to come in to our team for the end of the season, you're essentially chasing someone who you know is going to be happy to play off the bench, because we know that Reg is going to come back and take his starting spot. And obviously someone who's going to have that impact off the bench so we don't lose too much. There's rumours floating around as well. Obviously, the Knights want to offload Daniel Safidi for next year. I think Safidi would be a great pickup. But is Safidi someone who's going to be happy to leave Newcastle starting every week to come to Parramatta to play off the bench? And the answer is probably no. So, for me, Offengowie is a smart one. For some reason, he's not in favour at the Tigers, so they do want to get rid of him. Well, the biggest thing for me looking at those other years where we went on those good runs, probably from struggling a bit, was 2009, 2000, we'll pop that one up in a second, 2009 and 2017.
Marlon, yeah, he's probably still playing, actually, I think, over in England.
Yeah, I think he's still playing.
Like third or fourth division.
No, he's playing over here now. I think he's playing on the South Coast or something, or somewhere. Half the team is going.
Who are you?
In 2009, we brought in Daniel Mortimer come in the team and sparked our season. In 2017, we brought Moses across, which sparked our season, turned us into a top 4 team. So, to me, we need some kind of spark. I don't know if it's a front rower. Look, someone else has just popped it up there. They were chasing a centre. Obviously, we're talking about that X factor thing before. I definitely don't think it's Bradman Best. I think Bradman Best hasn't evolved as a player much at all. That was obviously rumoured as well. We floating around the Knights want to let go him. Defensively, he got exposed against Parramatta. He hasn't changed his game since he was the biggest kid in his grade back in under 16s. And to me, he just wouldn't be up to what we need. So I'd be happy to let Bailey play at centre over signing Bradman Best. Do we want to move on this week's game? Anyone else going to add about those signings or anything like that? No, moving on.
I reckon Lomax.
Yeah. I know
He'll stay at the Dragons now.
Yeah, well, the coach is gone. He'll be back in favour. He's back in the team already.
Yeah.
All right, this week's game, as we said, Friday night, Allianz Stadium. South Sydney back at home, closer to Redfern there at Allianz Stadium. Look,
Trillions.
What is it?
Trillions.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. It probably will be, knowing our luck. But Allianz Stadium, look, we talked about the draw. Obviously, we've got South Sydney Rabbitohs in Indigenous round, which obviously we know means a lot to a lot of their players, Latrell, Cody Walker, all the stuff they do for their community. And first of all, it's good to see our club embracing that as well. Obviously, Hopgood's been a big part of that. They've been doing some work around embracing culture at training, and obviously having some elders out and stuff as well. So it's going to be a big night out there. It makes you nervous every time you play South Sydney lately, just because of our record. They always seem to carve up. I think it's our right edge. It's their left edge that Johnson plays on. Usually gets
kept us to nil a few times.
They've kept us to nil, but they've pulled some points on.
4 tries.
28 points at least in their last 6 games, I think. 28 against us minimum. Could be wrong.
All right. Well, before we get to our predictions, let's go through the team, because there is a couple of changes. Random stats guy. Gutherson at fullback keeps his spot, obviously. Russell comes in on the wing for Dunster, who obviously was dropped based on performance. Sivo on the other wing. Penasini and Simons in the centres. Brown at 5'8". Moses returns at halfback. Hopgood at lock. Davey keeps his spot in the second row. You okay, Joel? Cartwright in the other second row comes in. Greg and Paul on the front row. Hodgson at hooker. Bench of Ogden, Hands, Madison, Makatoa. I'm guessing the 18th man once again is Jake Arthur, as usual. And Dunster, Rodwell, Assi, and Moretti. Interesting on the extended bench. I noticed Rodwell's gone from being the 17 in reserve grade to coming into the 20th man in first grade. So that's a very interesting one. And obviously those players are now in New South Wales Cup as well. He might make his debut, guys. Ogden obviously returns, which I thought Ogden was very unlucky to get dropped after the Bulldogs game. Very unlucky. And all right, let's just go. Get him up. Get it going, Matt. Joel, what do you got?
Hang on.
Here we go.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this the last couple of weeks, but I really just want to make a point, because I know tonight's a special episode, Facebook Live. So viewers, if you've listened to this before, I'm sorry, but I'm going over it again, because again, it's happened. Selections, once again, for me, I'm starting to think Brad Arthur is happy with mediocre performances as long as his mates are in the team and part of the 13 and 17. It's clear he's got favourites. Now, Josh Hodgson and Andrew Davies, since they've been part of this team, have offered absolutely nothing. And I keep saying Hodgson's highlight so far is that pass to Junior in round 1, and that's literally all he's got. So he has done literally nothing. Every time Hands comes on the field, we look like a totally different team, and I just have no idea why Brad Arthur does not see this as a head coach. How can fans of the team see it? Yet a guy that we're paying, who knows how much we're paying him these days, just is that stubborn to not see it, or he just doesn't want to admit to a failure. Like, there's no point whatsoever why Hodgson should still be in this team as a first grade hooker. He has moved on from it. He's not who he was 3-4 years ago. Brad Arthur needs to move on. I will literally sit here and say I reckon selections this year have cost us at least 3 to 4 wins, and that's on the head coach. For mine, that's purely on the head coach, and that for mine is why panic stations and the panic button for mine is really getting hit hard because our head coach is too stubborn to get help. We've got 4 assistants, we've got a poor back of house, and we're paying the price right now.
Yeah, as you said, 3 or 4 wins would have put us in a much better situation. Obviously, it's stating the obvious there, but the highlight of 4 wins means we'd be sitting in second spot. Troy, your thoughts on that team and what Joel said? I don't want to comment on what Joel said.
Well, what can you say? A premiere of Joel's rant, so I'll leave that to the viewers.
Nah, come on. What do you got? Come on. I know you're opposite of these thoughts. I know you feel like Brad Arthur's not as.
Here we go.
Look, I think Dave. Oh, go, Matty.
No, I'm saying the stat came out this week. Hodgson minus 27, Hands plus 63. I think that just basically says it all.
Well, then in that case, then maybe Hands should start and Hodgson on the bench. I can see.
That doesn't work because you're asking that you need a 14 to come on and add something to the team. Once that change happens, we lose something in the team.
But I can't see Hands playing 80 minutes.
Well, that's the problem. Then we need to find someone else. Hodgson doesn't do the job. There's no point in having
something else. I agree with you that Hodgson will not offer anything off the bench. The only thing he'd offer off the bench is probably in that last 10 minutes in a close game, he'd probably bring some maturity and some experience. They probably need to bring someone else on. I'm not taking my shirt off, Jake Hesse. Shut up. It just keeps coming up. He's just... Anyway, don't even bring it up. Don't give him the time of day. It's like encouraging someone. For me, they need someone with a bit of spark to come in as well at 14. That's the problem if you start Hands. Hodgson won't work off the bench, but it doesn't seem like they're going to drop him. So, anyone else got any thoughts, Hayden?
No,
just nothing. He's just done.
I had a little rant earlier, but I left it all to Joel tonight.
Matt and. He's been waiting to use that all day, and now he's overused it. All right, let's get on then. For me, I'm going to ask the question where we win this game. And I think it's a pretty obvious one. We need to win it defensively based on how much we've set up our edges before. Them and Manly seem to tear up our edges with ease. All they seem to do is find that middle, set Walker and Latrell up the left or on the right. It doesn't really matter. They seem to play both their halves on both sides against us. They always seem to find that extra man. And look, it comes down to questioning Gutho's position again. He needs to be able to cover that if we're going to back that in and outside. So for me, obviously, we need to be solid on our edges, which I think we have improved on lately. And I just think we need more from our forwards as well in attack. Like it's time for Paulo to step up again. He has been poor since Reg has been out. And yeah, it's a hard one. We need to find our position, obviously, on the field to not be constantly defending. Hayden, your thoughts?
I think the game is won in the kicking. I think if we kick early plays, we're obviously getting Moses back this week is a big inclusion. I think we have big 5'8s. We both have 5'8s that, are more of runners than kickers in Cody Walker and Dylan Brown. So I think between Ilias, who's actually showing himself to be a great footballer, especially this season against that great kicking game of Mitchell Moses. If we can kick on third, kick on fourth, catch them off guard, pin them back, because their outside backs are just electric and they're going to get lots of meters. So as big as the battle is in the forward pack, I think this is one on the kicking game and applying that early pressure to players like Campbell Graham and Johnston, Tane Milne, those big, strong wingers that are getting those post carries, because it's very similar to the Penrith game with Brian To'o and Taruva. If you can get that kicking game and stop those early meters, that might be a key to shutting the Rabbitohs down at Trelliance.
Yep, Joel, I'll go that one later. Matt, your thoughts?
Well, apart from the selections, obviously, I feel like Hands needs to start. I would have Maddo starting for Davey. Davey can be left right out. I'd have Arcee coming onto the bench to provide a little bit of X factor. I think that's what our team's missing at the moment, to come on for a 15, 20-minute spell. We've signed him for a reason.
That was a few weeks ago, the X factor thing.
Well, we need something. We're dead set just sitting ducks out there. We're so robotic, it's boring. The only way we can beat South Sydney is if we kick early. We need to isolate Latrell. We need to make him do a lot more work than he's used to, so then he's tired. Unless we can shut down Latrell, there's no point in talking any further, because if he fires, they'll beat us by they'll put a cricket score on us. We may as well move the game to the SCG so the scoreboard can keep up. So
he will fire being Indigenous round as well. Troy?
Yeah, look, it's going to be tough. Obviously, South Sydney, a bit of a bogey side for Parramatta. I think the last 6 games, it's been 13 plus to South Sydney. Funny thing is both teams have scored 240 points for the season. The only difference is that South Sydney are on the top of the ladder is 90 points in defence. So obviously we've got the defensive issues, but ironically we've scored the same amount of points. So. But, yeah, look, it's going to be tough, that left-hand side. Sorry?
And they've won the games. So they got 2 points.
Because of their defence. But we have scored the same amount of points as them in this season so far. So, look, we just need to get off to that good start. We tried to get off to that good start last week and just hopefully roll on with that. As Hayden said, having Mitchell back is a massive advantage, but let's mix it up. Let's not always leave it to the last tackle to kick. Let's throw in high kicks, low kicks along the ground. As Joel said, run the Latrell around because get him tired. It's an origin audition as well for a lot of players as well, so they're going to want to perform. So just get off to that good start. Discipline has to be better, obviously. We don't want another 10 penalties. I think it's going to be tough, but it can be done.
All right, Matt, what you got?
Yeah, I agree with Joel and Troy. Kick early. You just we've seen Latrell at the back. When he catches the ball, he just passes it straight away. He doesn't really make the effort to come back and run hard. I'd be kicking way early, straight to him and make him run back, make him come and chase. But yeah, we just pretty much tackle Latrell, and then the key for mine is get under Cody Walker's skin. You've seen what
who's our niggler?
We don't really
have
one.
The only person that's got the niggle is Gutho, who meows off when he's at the back. So does that work?
Oh, you got Hodjo. Could have Hodjo.
We're hoping he spends more time on the bench, to be honest.
Don't give Hodjo that much credit.
Who's got the echo going? Who's playing the audio in the background? It's
gone now.
It's gone now, thank God. All right, let's move on. For me, like you said, the points you said there about kicking early, I've been saying that the year, it just hasn't happened. I think we need to kick early after points. The way, obviously, to tie Latrell is to turn him around. The only way we're going to do that is if his wingers aren't dropped back, so kick on fourth tackle. I'm going to go my predictions, and look, they're just more hopeful predictions, to be honest, because we need to win. Our season is definitely on the line this week. We're not going to win 10 of 12 with with that run. We're definitely not going to win 10 or 12. So we need to win one of these games. And the pressure is, we're playing for our season every week we play now, let's be honest. So we do need to win. I know we've had a rough run against South Sydney. It hasn't seemed like we can beat them for ages, but every time we've played them, we've usually been performing pretty well. So obviously going in this game, we're performing like absolute shit. We still are scoring points. Defensively, we need to fix things up. So I'm going to say a scoreline of 26-14 to Parramatta. I'm going to go. Can we pick a first try score from the opposition team?
We can. Let's do one from each team this week. That can be good.
Well, all right. Let's do that. I'm going to say Latrell Mitchell first try scorer for them. I think he'll score the first try of the game, and I'll say Sivo for us. Just really bold going out there. But the reason I'm saying Sivo is because my bold prediction is for Mitchell Moses to get 4 try assists, and they only scored 4 tries. So 26-14, 4 tries, a penalty goal. Mitchell Moses to get all 4 try assists. Fire your questions away too, guys. We're going for this prediction. We'll try and get a few of them. All right. What do you got, Hayden?
Obviously, last week I tipped Canberra, so it'd be pretty safe to tip the Rabbitohs in Indigenous round, but I'm not going to do it, guys. I think we can win. You mentioned it. We're getting desperate here. It reminds us again of that 0-4 start where everyone said it would be 0-5 against Penrith and came out and got the win. So yeah, I think we can win. I'm going to go Parramatta to win in a close one, a high scoring one. You mentioned we've both scored plenty of points throughout the season, so I'm going to go 22 points to 26. And my first try scorer from South is going to be Isaiah Tass. And first try scorer from the Eels will be Mitchell Moses. And my bold prediction, since Joel's revved him up, I reckon Josh Hodgson to score at any time.
Well, give him an X already.
Joel, Mr. Positivity up there.
Hang on. Wait. Let me go back. So 22-26, so you're picking South?
No, I'm picking Parramatta to win 26-22.
Okay. There you go.
All right, Joel.
And what was your Eel scorer? I didn't hear over the laughter.
Mitchell Moses, and then first try scorer Isaiah Tass.
Yeah, I got that one.
And all right, Joel. Prediction, Josh Hodgson to score a try.
At any time.
Yeah.
I will go South Sydney 36-12. They are going to pump us. Indigenous round, Latrell, Cody are going to have a field day. I reckon Cody Walker first try scorer for South. If it's us, miraculously, it's going to be Moses. He'll do something. So, he'll carry the team. And then I feel like the bold prediction will be Cody Walker and Latrell to combine for 5 tries.
Have you got red and green underneath there? Red and green.
I need to get some points. I haven't got any points yet.
He's got a South Sydney till I die tattoo across here. All right, Troy, what do you got?
Okay, well, Parramatta will win this game because apparently our season's on the line and we're at panic stations. Cue the button. No? Okay. Look, South have never lost an Indigenous round, so they're, I think, 7 in a row now. So records are meant records are meant to be broken, always remember that Adam Reynolds goal in, was it 2016 from the sideline? That was no good, that game. But 24-20 Parramatta. I'm going to say for South Sydney, Campbell Graham, first try scorer. For Parramatta, I'm going to stick with Bailey Simonson, and a bold prediction will be that Gutho will have 2 try assists and just, bounce back from his poor performance from last week.
I don't know if that's not bold enough for mine because Gutho does that pretty regularly.
Well, he didn't last week. He did last week.
Try assist for us or them. Hang on, try assist for us and them. Is he going to throw intercepts? Like, is he going to look at Latrell and go, here, have the ball?
They'll go on to Joel.
Like he has the last game?
We'll let him have it. Go on, Matt. What do you got?
All right, I got 21-14. Eels
Whose
way.
way? Okay, yep.
Our way.
Yep.
I didn't do a fucking Souths try scorer, so I'll go for Souths. Souths, I'll go. Sorry, kids. Souths, I'll go. Yeah, I'll go Campbell Graham because obviously he needs a blue spot. For Parra, I got Cartwright. First try scorer, maybe a little grubber kick from Dylan, Mitch. And seems it's Indigenous round. I'm going to go a Hopgood double.
So he
That's
scores
bold.
he scores his first try, then all of a sudden he scores a double.
Does he kick the field goal as well?
Nah, that's Mitch.
I'll record a video of me streaking around my neighbourhood if Hopgood scores a double.
Here we go.
Oh, message him, Matty. Message him.
We need to clip that, put it on Instagram, and tag him.
Yeah.
He'll view it.
I'll click it
I reckon
and I'll
it would
tag
be
him.
good publicity for him to fire up for Friday.
I've lost everyone again, guys? This has happened at the worst time.
No pressure. He can't hear us. We've lost our host. Why don't we roll into we've got a couple of questions. We've got a few minutes left. He's gone.
He'll be back.
You want to bring up a couple of questions? Well, if he can get back. Anyone got any idea about this one? But I think it'd be a good choice. Oh, he's back.
I'm back. I don't know what happened. Then he's all turned into robots again.
Well, we're just going to go through a couple of quick questions.
Well, technically they can upgrade him now because we've got room left and spots available, but I don't think they want to upgrade him, obviously. For him to be able to play and get an exemption, I believe it's after the June 30 deadline. So the June 30 is obviously a transfer deadline. So for him to – is he listed as a development player? Is that what he's listed as?
Yeah, so he signed a 3-year deal. This year he's a development player, but he gets upgraded to top 30 next year and the year after. So,
any other questions? What are you bringing up?
Yeah, hang on.
That's not really a question. That's a statement.
It's a statement. Look, it's probably a fair statement. For me, he probably needs to do a bit more out of trouble.
Who do you put
we obviously
there?
know he knows how to find the try line. There's no doubt about that. And he is evolving his game a little bit by trying to do those kicks. He's trying hard to evolve his game, but he's probably trying a bit too much. He's gone away from the basics. I thought against Newcastle he was excellent with his running game. And actually we saw him sprint down the sideline, which was very rare. I think sometimes he needs to just remember what his job is. And look, that probably comes back to the coaching staff as well. Right, there was one a bit further up about the club management. I don't know if you can find that. Anyone want to answer that question? Because I'll just show it straight down.
I'll answer.
Joel will answer it. He's got all over it.
No, it depends what it is. I've got to relax. I've got to calm down a bit. Sorry, viewers.
I'll go about that Gutho one. I say I don't think Gutho is playing consistently good enough football, and I don't think he's offering us enough to be in the New South Wales team. I know he's had his chance there before, but there's a lot of good players that can fill that 14 role over him, especially players that can probably offer a bit more and cover a few more positions.
Sorry, kids. My answer is fuck no.
Yeah. I think one of the questions was about a defensive coach, and I feel like the answer to that is we don't actually have a defensive coach right now. Isn't that correct? Is that right? We don't have a defensive coach?
That is correct. We haven't had one since Kidwell left.
Wow, he's talking, but he's frozen.
All right. If there's no other questions.
There's a few coming through.
Is that it?
Yeah, look, I'm going to touch on this one quickly because I saw this one come up earlier. What I will say is I know there's obviously rumours of problems in the background. There's problems there with obviously recruitment as well. I'll say not so much our coach because I know he wanted to keep those players. But if we don't play finals football this year after making a grand final and letting go of the players we did, the club management has a lot to answer for. Because we were on our way up. This was still meant to be our window, as they call it. And with the players we had coming through and the players we had there, you think we would have been a dominant team for the years to come after making a grand final. I know we obviously played best in the grand final, but some of the wins we had last year were quite gutsy. So, yeah, the club management might seem ridiculous. I think there's some people that are going to die by the sword in that regard, because I think that's one of the reasons players like Hodgson and players like Davey are being played. Given the fact that we lost Reid and they brought Hodgson in, I don't think it's so much. I know Joel had the opinion that it's him picking his mates. I don't think it's Brad Arthur. I think there's higher up authorities obviously making us pick Hodgson because he's the player we brought in. And I feel the same for Davey. After all the players we let go of, Davey being one of them, obviously the year before, and then coming back, for the club, it's like kind of a pride thing saying, look, we lost this player, we got him back, he must play. So we've heard of it before. We've heard of those opinions. It happens all across the world in all different sports. So that's obviously my opinion on that one. Does anyone else want to answer that next question?
Do the players have any thoughts or saying in team selections?
We know Gutho does. Like, that was pretty obvious when Wonga Blake got dropped, wasn't it? You saw Gutho abusing Wonga Blake on the field, then all of a sudden he was gone.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Any other players have any input in the team selections each week?
Mitch and Gutho were the ones that went to BA and that when Jake made his debut, because they weren't gonna, and they're the ones that said we've got his back, put him in.
Isn't Junior a co-captain? So wouldn't Junior have a say as well? You think?
Yeah, I was going to say Junior seems to have a lot of those decisions where he goes up to a player, has a spray, and then they're out the next week.
It's like there's a little group of the senior players, and we've seen it at the games. We've seen they're the last players to leave every game. You know what I mean? You've got Cartwright, Junior, RCG, Gutho, and Mitch. So I don't know. They stay back and have their little meetings as the senior group, and then I don't know.
So I know Brad obviously has the final say in team selections, but obviously he's having a little bit of influence from the players themselves as well. So it's not all on Brad.
Well, Gutho was the one that brought Wonga to the club. He was the one that told BA after that. Was it 2015 where Wonga carved us up in round one? Gutho was the one that told Brad we need to get this guy at Eels. So,
yeah.
All right, you want to answer that one?
Hayden?
You've mentioned a few names. We've mentioned Bradman Best earlier, mentioned Zach Lomax. We all agree Lomax would probably be a great signing, but at the same time, as me and Adam have said, we think that Simonson and Penasini, at least for this year, seems like the right spot for the centres. So probably not, besides someone for that forward-pack coverage during Origin and as Campbell Gillard spends his time out with injury.
I'll answer that one. The two spots left, look, I know it seems silly because I just won the under-19s comp in the SG ball there, but for me, if our season does go down the drain and we do lose a few games in the next couple of weeks and it is over, we really do need to start blooding these good SG ball players. Like, we've seen a lot of them named in Jersey Flag over the last couple of weeks. I see Matt Arthur's coming to Jersey Flag now. They're really starting to dominate that team with those players. The good ones you'd think in the next 3 to 4 weeks, which takes us to about what round are we up to? Round 12. So it takes us to about round 16. Well, they should step in a New South Wales Cup in the next 3 to 4 weeks. If they're good enough there and we get into the final 4 or 5 weeks and we can't make the finals, it's time to start bringing some of those kids in. I'd leave the 2 spots for that. I know we can apply for grants and stuff, but what it can do to a kid's confidence by listing them as a top 30 player would be absolutely wonderful for the next season and getting a good preseason under their belt. So I'd be rushing probably Richard Penasini and Matt Arthur in there. I know we mentioned it before about obviously having another hooker come off the bench, and that's all I'd be looking at. We saw it with Reid the year Reid debuted. Was that 2018, wasn't it? He debuted when we obviously got the spoon, but he was kind of rushed through the grades as well and obviously rushed in there. So in my opinion, that's why I'd be keeping those spots for, because realistically, besides Off and Gowie, we're rumoured to, there's no one else out there to sign at the moment that's going to want to come.
I know players earn their spot, but do you think if Matt Arthur gets a spot, do you think that'll be more pressure on Brad at the club
No.
for raising him?
Matt was always so Matt was the reason Hodgson was brought to the club. I'm going to say it now. We got Hodgson at the club to prepare Matt
to
Arthur.
teach the younger guys.
Yeah,
to teach
develop.
Matt.
We brought him as a development role, and that's what I feel like when his contract, the whole contract favor next year, because obviously it's a 2-year deal with the favor in favor of the club next year. I feel like that's when we pretty much say, listen, tap him on the shoulder, put him on the coaching staff, and he can help develop Matt Arthur. And we've got Sonny Luke's from the Panthers' younger brother now. So, and I've heard he's killing it in New South Wales Cup. So yeah, I reckon we tap Hodgson on the shoulder and say, listen, have a job as a coaching staff, and let's help develop Matt Arthur to be. I feel like that's why they didn't go hard for Reed. They didn't offer more money and pay overs to keep Reed because they knew the plan was always going to be Matt Arthur.
Yeah. Can we go to George's question or statement? All I want to say, George, is I think you and Joel, I don't know where you're from, but if you're in Queensland, you and Joel need to sit down and have a beer because I reckon you could be best mates. All right? Exactly know what he's been saying.
I'm with Georgie boy. I'm with a few of these other people who are saying that's really concerning if the players have that much of a voice when it comes with team selections week in, week out. I think that's a huge concern because I don't think there's many clubs, especially the successful ones, where players are having that much of a say in that many of them. Like you mentioned Cardi, for instance. For mine, Cartwright needs to improve his own game, so he should not be part of any of those crucial decisions, and he hasn't done the hard yards to earn that spot either in the team and in the ranks. For mine, Cartwright.
I think it's just because he gets a lift with RCG. So
yeah, well, Cartwright costs us at least 2 to 3 penalties a game. His defense still is a huge concern for mine, and if he's around that group, that gang, so to speak, and he's in charge of some of these selections, we're in a lot of trouble.
Well, that's why I ask the questions, because if players are helping make team selections, well, then you can't put it all on the.
Well, it's not uncommon. It's not uncommon for a leadership group to be part of a team. That's why you have a captain, obviously, and a co-captain, and you expect your halves to be involved in that. For me, if one half is involved in that decision making, the other half needs to step up. So Dylan Brown needs to be involved in it as well. And you need your senior players being involved there. They have to earn their spot in being involved. And the coach has to learn to know when they're right and when they're wrong and when they're picking their mates. If Junior is involved in it, I reckon he's keeping Hodgson around there because he's obviously got that relationship with him from Canberra. But to me, obviously, the coach needs to know when to overall make the hard choices. And it's been accused before and it's been said before that Brad seems to want to be mates with these players instead of making the hard decisions. The only time he ever makes a hard decision is when he pretty much forces a player out the club. Let's go to Chris Woodford's first question there, Matt. What happened to Lindemann or whatever his name is? He's in reserve grade where he belongs. Next question. I agree with Gianni, obviously, about Cardi there having one of his better years. I think he's finally got rid of the shit out of his game, but consistently there's some things he needs to work on. That's pretty much it. It's probably all we've got time for. Yeah, look, we went through that before as well. Mentioned it. Obviously, all the rule changes, dropping to 6 again, dropping back to 8. It's making the game a lot faster, all the new rules. And you're right, obviously, it suits someone like Brendan Hands. If no one's got anything else, I think we can wrap that up. So, Troy, fire us away, get us out of here, and let's go to bed.
Go to bed. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching on Facebook Live. And if we get the comments, we may do this again next week as well. Thank you very much for joining us. And the audio version will be out later tonight. Catch it tomorrow on Apple and Spotify. And don't forget to subscribe to the Talking Parra podcast on all the social media channels and also Apple, Spotify as well. Join up, subscribe to League of Inches, M80 Sports TV, the Parra Cave podcast, Entertain House, and Adam's channel as well. And we will see you next week. And hopefully we will have all smiles on our faces next week, talking positive Parramatta news over a victory over the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Go Parra.
Go Parra.
Lakers and Celtics, Melon.